very warm good afternoon to all our participants, our respected guest speaker of the day, and faculty members, students, and everyone. I'm Dr. Shweta Dhan, the faculty for Center for Distance and Online Education, JIIT, along with my colleague, Dr. Reema Sharma ma'am. She is a faculty from Finance Domain at CDOE JIIT. Together, we welcome all of you in the session today for a discussion upon Union Budget 2026. So, as we know, this budget has been introduced at the time when Indian economy is already going through a few challenges. Along with that, there are a lot of opportunities coming up. And this budget had a theme of Viksit Bharat, which is completely based on the enlightened vision of our government and Honorable Prime Minister to have focus upon long-term and sustainable development across all the sectors in economy. So with this discussion, we will, the objective basically of this discussion is not just to understand what are the key highlights of the budget, rather we will have a discussion on an understanding about how is it going to benefit our learners and the entrepreneurs, the budding ones and also the ones who are established. What are its impact in various sectors and how is this going to be sustainable, focused budget for all the AI-driven policies that have been introduced or the initiatives that are taken by government in various sectors. First, I would take the opportunity to introduce both our expert panelists. Dr. Reema ma'am, she's joining along with me from studio at JIIT CDOE. Thank you. Very welcome, ma'am. Thank you for being here with us in this discussion. Ma'am is an eminent professor in the field of finance. She comes with huge experience in the finance area and with experience of more than 12 plus years of working as well as industry experience. Along with us, joining us, Dr. Swati Singh ma'am. So it is a distinct pleasure for me to introduce our eminent guest speaker of the day. Ma'am is currently serving as the Head Regional Standards South Asia at UL Standards and Engagement. In this strategic leadership role, Swati ma'am has given her best in leading the regional standard strategy, strengthens engagement with key stakeholders, and ensures that standards development continues to reflect the evolving needs of markets and consumers across South Asia. Prior to this role, Dr. Singh has she has held the position of Director, International Trade Policy Division at the Confederation of Indian Industry, that is CII. During her tenure, she worked extensively on free trade agreements and a wide range of trade-related issues, including tariffs and non-tariff measures, rule of origin, government procurement, services, and investments. Dr. Swati has also held various positions where she was involved in policy matters across multiple sectors, with a particular focus on labor-intensive and high export-oriented sectors of India. So with vast basically experience, and she has a rich profession experience of industry, ma'am is highly respected in the field of trade expert, specializing in standards development and engagement, also associated with women in trade, MSMEs, and standards policy. So with her deep commitment towards inclusive and sustainable trade growth, today we are honored to have Dr. Singh with us as she shares her expert insights on the Union Budget 2026, offering a valuable perspective at the intersection of trade policy, standards, and the economic development. Please join with me to welcome ma'am in today's session.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I think indeed it is a pleasure and opportunity for me to interact everybody here. It's just that, I think everybody is knowledgeable right now, and those who are joining here in terms of students or a faculty, I think they themselves are equally specializing in their respective fields. And my lot of wishes and I think compliments to their work that they are doing it in their area. So thank you so much, Shweta, and I welcome Dr. Rima also on the floor. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. So first, let us begin with the discussion on the key highlights. I would request Rima ma'am to share your inputs on what this budget basically has been introduced or announced for all the sectors. Just give a glimpse so that we can begin the discussion.
Yeah. Thank you so much, ma'am, for welcoming me in this session, as well as giving me the opportunity so that we can discuss the key highlights with all our learners. So if we talk about Budget 2026, here the government is focusing towards the Viksit Bharat 2047, जिसके लिए total expenditure इस बार जो government ने दिया है वो 53.3 lakh CR. इतना expenditure होने वाला है different sectors में. और की हाइलाइट्स की अगर हम बात करें, मेजर सेक्टर की अगर हम बात करें कि कौन से मेजर सेक्टर गवर्नमेंट ने इस बार फोकस किए हैं, तो सबसे बड़ा सेक्टर उसमें है कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर. सो कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर इफ वी टॉक अबाउट, तो एक्सपेंडिचर होगा रेलवे पर, एक्सपेंडिचर होगा मेट्रो कंस्ट्रक्शंस पर, एक्सपेंडिचर होगा एयरपोर्ट्स पर, और जितने भी हमारे रिलेटेड चीजें हैं, ट्रांसपोर्टेशन से रिलेटेड चीजें हैं, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर से रिलेटेड हैं, उस सब पर ये कैपिटल एक्स जो कैपेक्स जो कि एक मेजर पार्ट है इस बजट का, उस पर फोकस किया गया है. सेकेंड मेजर पार्ट इज बायोफार्मा एंड हाई एंड बायोटेक ड्रग्स. सो इंडिया में जो मेडिसिन है वो मैन्युफैक्चरिंग होती है, बट दिस टाइम गवर्नमेंट इज फोकसिंग टुवर्ड्स हाई एंड बायोटेक ड्रग्स, वेयर इट इंक्लूड द ड्रग्स फॉर डिसीजेस विच आर क्रिटिकल इन नेचर, लाइक कैंसर डिसीजेस. इसके लिए मेडिसिन बनाई जाएगी. इसके लिए गवर्नमेंट ने फोकस किया है, कुछ बजट इसमें डाला है कि इतना बजट हम इस चीज के लिए इस बार हम देंगे. थर्ड थिंग इज सेमीकंडक्टर. इफ यू टॉक अबाउट सेमीकंडक्टर, तो सेमीकंडक्टर रिलेटेड है चिप से. चिप मैन्युफैक्चरिंग जो कि इंडिया में होती है, बट 99% चिप्स को हम इंपोर्ट करते हैं फ्रॉम अदर कंट्रीज, राइट. और चिप की जब हम बात करते हैं, तो अगर हम अपने मोबाइल फोन की बात करें या वॉशिंग मशीन की बात करें या कोई भी ऑटोमेटेड मशीन, हर चीज के लिए हमें चिप की रिक्वायरमेंट होती है. सो दिस इज ऑल्सो द मेजर फोकस एरिया इन दिस बजट, वेयर गवर्नमेंट हैज announced that they will give certain expenditure in that area also, including that if you have you all might have heard about that rare earth magnetic elements is also a major focus area. इंडिया में बहुत सारे रेयर अर्थ मैग्नेटिक एलिमेंट्स अवेलेबल हैं, बट अभी तक उनका सिर्फ माइनिंग होता था. इंडियन गवर्नमेंट के अकॉर्डिंग वी विल आल्सो डू द प्रोसेसिंग ऑफ दीज रेयर अर्थ मटेरियल एंड वी विल आल्सो डू द वर्क फॉर देयर एक्सपोर्ट, राइट. इसके बाद अगर हम फोकस करेंगे, जो फिफ्थ मेजर एरिया है दैट इज केमिकल पार्क. बड़े बड़े 3 केमिकल पार्क बनाए जाएंगे इंडिया के अंदर, जिसके लिए गवर्नमेंट ने बजट अनाउंस किया है कि कुछ पैसा इसके लिए भी गवर्नमेंट देगी, इशू करेगी, और इस पर काम किया जाएगा. केमिकल पार्क बनाने से व्हाट वुड बी द बेनिफिट, जो इंडस्ट्रीज हैं वो अकॉर्डिंग टू द एनवायरमेंट, तो एनवायरमेंट को बहुत ज्यादा इम्पेक्ट ना हो, और केमिकल हमारा जो निकलता है इंडस्ट्रीज से वो अच्छी जगह पर हम यूटिलाइज भी कर सके, उसके लिए केमिकल पार्क बनाया गया है. प्लस एट द एंड देयर इज आल्सो कार्बन कैप्चर, यूटिलाइजेशन एंड स्टोरेज unit where government is focusing. So these 6 major sector are there in this particular budget, that is in 2026.
Thank you for this insight, ma'am. We would also like to have insights about how is this going to be beneficial for job seekers and the people who are more interested towards having their own, to become entrepreneurs, basically. So what opportunities does this budget allocating towards that particular area?
Yes. So this budget is also called युवा शक्ति ड्रिवन बजट. गवर्नमेंट ने बहुत सारी चीजें ऐसी इस बजट में बताई हैं जिससे जॉब इंक्रीज होंगी, स्पेशली फॉर आर डिजिटल लर्नर. डिजिटलाइजेशन के लिए एबीसीजी सेक्टर के लिए गवर्नमेंट ने बजट में बताया है कि कुछ पैसा उस सेक्टर को इंप्रूव करने के लिए, उसको आगे बढ़ाने के लिए भी दिया जाएगा. जैसे अगर हम बात करें डिजिटल कंटेंट की, जो आजकल बहुत ज्यादा रिक्वायर्ड है, तो व्हाट गवर्नमेंट सेज, वी विल आल्सो चेंज आवर सिलेबस अकॉर्डिंग टू द रिक्वायरमेंट ऑफ इंडस्ट्री, जो भी इंडस्ट्री की रिक्वायरमेंट है उसके अकॉर्डिंग सिलेबस को चेंज किया जाएगा हर बार, ताकि हमारे जो स्टूडेंट्स हैं, हमारे जो लर्नर हैं, वो उस चीज को सीखें और उसमें जॉब्स को वो जॉब्स के अकॉर्डिंग अपनी स्किल्स को डेवलप कर सके, राइट? Then apart of this, there is also one more thing which can increase the jobs, that is government is focusing towards tier 2 and tier 3 cities also, not only tier 1. So what happened when the government will focus on tier 2 and tier 3 cities? Government क्या कर रही है उसके लिए? उसके लिए government ने announce किए हैं tax holiday. So tax holiday में जब इंडस्ट्री यहाँ पर आएंगी, अपनी एस्टेब्लिश करेंगी यूनिट्स को, तो वो गवर्नमेंट उनको टैक्स हॉलीडे देंगी, ताकि ज्यादा से ज्यादा इंडस्ट्री टीयर 2 और टीयर 3 सिटीज में भी एस्टेब्लिश हो और जॉब्स इंक्रीज हो फॉर यूथ and for our digital learners also.
Absolutely, ma'am. These are some of the initiatives that we can focus upon, the highlighted factors for our learners as well, and for the youth who is today more interested towards entrepreneurship, and also with the digital transformation that is going to benefit them. Government is focusing towards that as well. So may I take this opportunity to now shift our focus towards our eminent speaker, Dr. Swati Singh, ma'am. So ma'am, with the initiative that government is focusing towards sustainability and green standards, what is your perspective upon this budget of 2026, where India's push for renewable energy and advanced manufacturing and its related challenges and opportunities, which will lay its foundation towards the development and growth of Indian economy?
Thank you so much, Shweta. I think I'll come a little later to that because first I'll just continue where Dr. Reema has left. She has articulated very well, but I would like to say that maybe for the investors, maybe for the general public, this budget is quite boring. They were saying that nothing is there for the middle class, because I would like to tell them that already the GST reforms is continued. I think it is the budget has to be seen that the GST reforms had given some opportunity for the consumers to get more income in their hands when the GST has happened already, and then it is continued with the budget. Now look at this in terms of perspective. I wanted to start with a narration. When we are looking at ourselves in the world today, we have a global crisis right now. If you see how the trade war is happening, how the tariffs are taking place, how the situation of a world war becoming imminent, how the global demand is decreasing, if you see, in that, sustaining a growth of 7%, it's a commendable job of the Indian government. I think I really look at that, this budget, where they wanted to talk about a sustaining 7% growth in the next couple of years when they are targeting Viksit Bharat by 2047. So this cannot be achieved until and unless you're going to keep the capex high. And that's why the capital expenditure is kept high. And I would like to tell to all those who have joined here, it's 12.2 crore, highest historic since 2021. We have started with 5 lakh crore and today we are sitting with 12.2 crore. And this is actually talking about one of the tool that you take for a growth. Because if the government is, I'm sure many of you must have heard economics, it's the more expansionary policy by the government when they're looking at more in terms of giving in the infrastructure side, so that it's not one person getting at a higher side salary, but the person who are involved in the public work will get a lot of boost for their income and automatically the consumption can be revived. So infrastructure, capex are the two important things of this budget that the government kept in mind. I'm not repeating what Dr. Reema has already said on the transport side, on the logistics side. These are the ways that the government is boosting infrastructure and involving. It's a multiplier effect in the economy if you see the effect of the infrastructure. The budget is also about a strategic self-reliance of India today. They are talking about the sectors in which we have never seen ourselves. For example, semiconductors, for example, defense, for example, biopharma. In the biopharma, if you see the categories that they have involved is the clinical trials. India had never been attempted that. But this time, I think the government is looking at more from the biopharma side, because in the pharmaceuticals, we have a export surplus in the market. In semiconductor, we do not have. In electronics, if you see, though we are the highest exporter of the electronics today to the world, but we have a deficit in this, which means that the import of electronic raw materials and intermediate that we are importing today, we are dependent upon the other countries. Now this will be gone once you have a semiconductor policy is in place, and that's why the government has introduced ISM 2.0, which is talking about more of a hardware components being developed in India, and that talks about a self-reliance. So here it's a very conscious effort of the government looking at a surplus of those commodities. I would also like to take your attention towards a textile sector, which is now looking at a, because again, textile is a surplus sector where we are more dependent on a man-made fiber which is imported outside. And if you see, this budget is talking about more of a development of the man-made fiber within the economy. So because of the paucity of time, I'm not being able to, but it's a good effort if the people, those who have joined this conversation, please look at it, because the government is very conscious in terms of choosing those sectors. Dr. Rima has also touched upon on the rare magnets and the rare critical minerals. If you see the export controls by China, it actually affected the entire market in the world. So are we looking at the dependence, or are we looking at, so it's a diversification of our supply chains, because in this world today, trustworthy partners are very relatively less. And when you're looking at a 2047 vision, you want it to be a self-sufficient, and that has to be export-oriented growth you need, which means that your GDP share, the trade has to be highest in that category. So it's a building of those sectors in which our dependency was there, but simultaneously building in such a manner that the sectors which are doing very well, so that their dependency can also be reduced for the import, and also looking at the new sectors which are upcoming. I would also like to take your attention towards the digital services or a digital economy infrastructure development, which is totally talking about the move of audio visual gaming and comic services, talking about AI, talking about future of work in IoT or machine learning or anything that you talk about. Now this connotation, please add it, that in India today, manufacturing and agriculture is not contributing to the GDP. It's the services who's contributing to the GDP. The youth today, if you look at the startups in India, which is highest in terms of the startups, are more focusing on the service oriented. You look at your phones, and if you look at the app store, every new app which is coming up is more onto the services side, that the people are actually doing it. So kindly look at the digital economy aspects, which is government very sure that if you would like to attain the 7% growth, you won't be able to sustain for a manufacturing for long, which means that you're looking at a services which need to be embedded. And every manufacturing comes with the services also. And that's how the government has kept a focus on services, which is contributing highest in terms of growth. One more thing. Now, if you look at the artificial intelligence, the government is quite focused that how it is going to reduce the transactional cost for the upcoming manufacturing units, how the delays can be reduced, how the global competitiveness can be taken care. Because today, if you see, most of your work is happening through the AI. I'm sure many of you must have seen how we are using ChatGPT or the new things that are keep on coming on the AI. But we also need to imagine that it's a global capability centers, GCCs, which the government is preparing for. And that's a huge amount of our services exports that today we are doing. In terms of data, if you look at how IT, how global capability centers, BPO, KPO, or in terms of the financial and the cross-border trade that you do in services, it accounts for 40% today. You wanted to increase that share more into the different sectors, and that's how you have introduced a sector called AVGC. You've started giving, as Dr. Rima said, that 21 years, for 21 years, you said that any foreign cloud companies investing in India in the global data centers or a hub center will be exempted for the trade, will be exempted from the tax. which means you are saying that it's a tax free. So you are asking people to invest in India in services, and especially in the global data hub centers. And I would also like to say that in the education side also, many youth now today coming up in the services sectors. So you're actually looking at the skills which are embedding in the future, looking at that how India can become a self-reliance in the data in India. So we wanted today, if you see, most of our hubs are outside India. So we wanted to prepare these data centers in India, asking companies to invest in India, making our own cloud base in India and exporting it further from here. And in that case, the ISM 2.0 is also talking about a deep critical hardware components that you are preparing for AI. So that is going to be critical when the government is looking at a semiconductor 2.0 also. And this talks about a trade technology balance with the countries today. Because today, if the European Union, US, New Zealand, Australia, Japan looking at you, they are not looking at your manufacturing. They're looking at you today with the trade and technology partnership. And that trade technology partnership is the future of India. You cannot be reliant on textile and pharma anymore. You need to look at the horizon which is clear in front of you in the coming years. So I think with this, I would like to just, in saying that that this is quite expansionary, self-reliant, inclusive growth in terms of the budget which is government has maintained it. And believe me, it is not related to the aspects that we are looking at more in terms of how we are going to take it up in the future, it when it comes to the other sectors which is not been. So I will definitely talk about the cons also, just talking about the pros, but this is something that we should be appreciative about it, that the government is looking at it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for giving us the elaborate understanding about how in today's time when economy is going through various challenges, yet it is it's creating quite a hope for the youngsters to have this vision of sustainable growth in coming days. And also, you rightly mentioned that in this budget there were no such wow moments for general people. Certainly, there were certain expectations from market as well as industries too. But it is maybe because government has already introduced three important, announcements before the budget was announced. That was already announced, as you rightly mentioned. GST 2.0 was the reform in GST which was announced. Along with that, there were deductions in repo rates, so interest rates were reduced. Then there were labor codes that were also announced before the budget was announced. So these are certain things which is actually leading our focus towards Indian economy to be consumption focused economy, because we are seen in today's time in global economy as the consumption market, where with the recent trade deals that are happening and it is announced, it is all that India needs to be focused towards the technology partner, as you have already mentioned. And the economy in today's time, since it is going through critical situations, yet it is said to be, Indian economy is said to be at the Goldilocks period, where the even governor of RBI has also given this phrase of Goldilocks economy.
Yes.
So this is just to for our learners to understand that it is a situation where it is not just the meltdown of economy. Like, we cannot say that we are going through recession in spite of having certain challenges. There are a lot of scope. With this budget introduced, there, yes, this will give a positive development to all the sectors which India is focusing upon. So, ma'am, let us now shift our focus towards the advanced manufacturing and how India is going to be playing a critical role in global partnership as well. So how does the budget basically support this advanced and high value manufacturing, and what opportunities, ma'am, do you see for innovation, exports, and job creation in this space?
Yeah, so I think I have already given you the sectors that we have chosen. These sectors are quite advanced manufacturing, I must say. These are not the sectors, because in pharma also, when you're choosing a biopharma, you're talking about a very R&D or innovative side of the advanced manufacturing in this case. So already the government has chosen, in fact, the rare magnets or the critical minerals, if you see, we are talking about advanced manufacturing of certain other areas. So just wanted to highlight one more aspect and relating it to it, that now when you are looking at 2047 to be a developed nation, there is a exponential jump that is required in your journey in this case, because if you look at the per capita of yours today, is not matchable. Even if you have surpassed Japan in terms of the per capita, we are very lower in terms of the per capita. So when you actually target yourself in 2047 around 23,000 USD, which is required, and currently it is somewhere around 2,500 USD. So, there is a huge jump that you are actually looking at in terms of per capita income side. Now, another aspect is to look at it that you are looking at the developed nations to become. And in that journey, when you are imbibing with your partners, which recently have signed the FTA with EU, Australia, you have already done, New Zealand, or EFTA countries we have signed, or US deal has just happened. So if you imagine these countries, which are quite big countries in terms of the base of their of the economies, global economies, if you see, you need to actually pump up your manufacturing in such a way that is going to support your different aspirations in this. Now, that aspiration talks about more onto your infrastructure building, that talks about your building of your urban area, especially in the tier 2 and tier 3 cities. And that's the responsibility of the state and the private investments. I would like to say that it's not the responsibility, because once the budget is being prepared by Amma, because we say generally the memes are coming that Amma has not given anything, that generally happens, so her duty is over. She has given to everybody. Now it's the responsibility of the state, it's the responsibility of the private investments, that how do you look at that? And do you see that opportunity? Because in the case of semiconductor, we have seen that still it is lagging the Indian Semiconductor Mission 1.0. There are a lot more loopholes in the semiconductor in terms of delays in their procedural aspects, delays in terms of setting up the required infrastructure, delays in terms of getting requisite requirements of the materials which is required from outside. Of course, the time period is not such that we can talk about that, which is not very favorable to India when we look at the world in terms of the imports also. So we need to understand that there is a lot more challenge, but that challenge needs to be also taken care by the state. And that's why this is not the duty or a kartavya of budget central government to look at it, but the kartavya of a state governments to take it up also. Now, in this case, I would also like to put your attention is that today we are talking about advanced manufacturing, but how well your education and skill systems are being prepared. Your youth is today looking at the Western countries to progress it towards. They wanted to, go and set up their, maybe education or maybe their services in the Western countries, but not in India. Now, this is also one of the duty when the government is looking at the advanced manufacturing and the sectors which are very intensive sectors, where they're asking EU or European Union or Australia or New Zealand to come up together and make a base within India. So in that case, a lot of investments is also being required, bridging the gap between the education and the skills. Today, there is a problem that when you go to the market, they always say that the students are not well prepared in terms of the education we have given, because it is more of a degree centric, but it is not outcome skill based centric. So if we are looking at the upcoming sectors in the future where it is required a lot of innovation, a lot of requisite infrastructure, the question comes is that how much do we have? Because in the education also, the government is a very meager amount this time allocated. So we need to answer that, whether it is not a priority of the government to look at the education, because today you're talking about employment linked incentives also. That is going to give some boost in terms of the education and an employment gap which is going to come. So in this case, I feel that tomorrow, when certain sectors where we are looking at a data centers, we are looking at AI, we are looking at AVGC, we are looking at a semiconductors, critical minerals, or a pharma or textiles. Now, all these sectors in an advanced manufacturing level, if you will see, the global competitiveness cannot be attained once you do not have enough infrastructure and standards available. Only the tariffs cannot solve the problems, or the custom duties reduction will not solve the problem. If I am a ex company would like to look at the testing labs availability in the nation tomorrow to export my products to the EU country, and those labs are not available for me, I'm losing out the business even if the market you have given me as a 0%. So the question comes is that, do we have enough budget allocation for the standards development as yet? Today we are talking about a net zero 2047, and the targets are huge in terms of looking at the renewable energy. You will feel that in that space also, in the EV side, today we are talking about just one example I'm giving, that more focus the government is giving on the EVs, right? They wanted EVs to be adopted by the consumer, but anytime any government thought that any EV car in the any building, if caught a fire, can anybody imagine that how much cause it can happen? Do we have that awareness? Do we have that standards understanding by the consumer or even the person who's preparing or producing that commodity? So in the budget, I feel there is a lacuna where we are not talking about the setup infrastructure required by the government. NABL by the government is not enough in India. There are more private testing companies, or they are taking the advantage. But I think more we should talk about in terms of the government taking it from the standard side also. One more aspect is important, that we are looking at more of the smart grid, smart energy, and semiconductors, critical minerals, and all. Anybody is talking about that what will happen in future when you are looking at the recyclability of these batteries? Anybody, if they think about it, imagine that how much are you going to produce in a year in India when you are looking at the lithium ion batteries? And if you just discard it in the garbage, it has the chemicals which comes out of it, it has a human risk involved in it. So I'm sure many of them must be working it. I'm sure the government must be working it. It's very easy to give that comment on. But yes, this awareness, this capacity building is required amongst the students also, because in India, in the education sector, we do not have a single course talking about standards today. And that's a little ironical in nature. We are talking about a quality management system, but we are not talking about a standard. So I think if I ask anybody in this fora also, or a forum also, that who is actually looking at the standards in India, probably many of you will not understand that a Bureau of Indian Standards is the national standards organization who's making the standards for us. So it just that some basic information, some basic alignment we do require, and some global harmonization is also required. Today we are looking at Indian standards. But as per Shri Narendra Modi ji, or Honorable Prime Minister himself said that global and local should be same. The production should be same. And that production cannot be same if your standards are different. So if you harmonize your standards with the global standards, I'm sure the advanced manufacturing you are talking about, or a very difficult industries you are talking about, probably it'll give a great push if we have a harmonized standards together in the world.
Yes, ma'am, very true. So you said rightly, as allocation in budget is a different thing, but that is the responsibility of everyone, state government also, and all of us, our students also, youth also, to take this in that way so that the country progress.
And certainly there is a need of incorporating change in not just in the policies, but also how the standards have to be incorporated in our curriculum so that we can educate. We cannot just get the entrepreneurs, but they should follow the regulatory guidelines of global standards in order to have this, to have the self-reliant economy, along with getting it, a sustained economy as well for the learners who are right now looking forward to be the entrepreneurs. So this is definitely
yes.
a nice
And
decision.
government is saying that we will change the syllabus according to the requirement of industry, according to what is happening into the industry, what is there actually required. उसके according हम syllabus को change करेंगे, students को skill enhancement करेंगे, but again that will take time.
And since this budget has a little disappointment because the rate is too low as compared to others. So one more question, if we can take up, ma'am. It is again related to this renewable energy and how it has gained the strong momentum in today's time. So what opportunities does this budget create for this renewable energy adoption in terms of the challenges or policy and infrastructure, also in terms of financing that must be addressed to achieve long-term energy security for Indian economy?
So, yeah, no, I think when we are looking at the renewable energy side, I think the government is quite very clear that a lot of higher fundings that is required in this space, and they are looking at a long-term infrastructure support also, which is going to talk about improving a grid reliability also, because at the end of the day, the solar focus that the government has more of a solar, and recently the honorable prime minister has also in the last 5-6 years, if you see the mission of a solar, that every household should have a solar solar storage, or they are the ones who are going to, because they understand that in the future we are going to talk about electrifications, which is not only going to come in a very in the old manners, but we are going to talk about the new manners in which the wind energy, solar energy, or the other related energies are going to be used. So in that case, the clean energy technologies are also very important, because these are the important emerging clean energy technologies which are coming up. So in the recent budget allocation, if you see, there is a 30% increase, if I'm not wrong, has been made, and the government is also looking at that, how they are going to increase the scalability of the wind capacity. They're also looking at the transmission expansion in this case, how the domestic manufacturing can also look at in terms of the clean energy components that are going to come up. So that's something that the government is looking at in terms of the aspects which is important. Now, when you look at the customs duty exemptions also, which is important to reduce the input cost in this case. If you remember, the raw materials which is required for a solar glass production, now that has also made duty free, which is, if I'm not wrong, it is sodium antimonate or something like that. So I think that is also made duty free, because it goes into the production of your solar manufacturing side. So the expectation the government is clear that this is going to boost the PV competitiveness also in this case, and plus it is a strengthening the China 1+ manufacturing, positioning ourselves also into the market, because many manufacturers of the solar supply or the solar manufacturing manufacturers, they were saying that a lot of duties it is a very important critical raw material which is used in the preparation of the solar glasses, and that has made. So this is a good approach that the government has also taken. I've already talked about the lithium ion batteries and the battery energy storage systems, because again the basic custom duties is also being exempted on the capital goods on the lithium ion cells that you're producing, and which is extended to the battery energy storage systems also in this case. So again, the aspects that we are looking at is improving the more of a renewable aspects that can take in place, and domestic value chains which are important for a storage technologies can also be improved in this core infrastructure. Because imagine yourself that if you are looking at a 2047 vision of developed nation, how much production of or how much support do you require from the electrification side, or from the e-mobility side, or from the smart storage system side, or the grid's reliability? In that case, this will be improving very soon. So I think in this case also the government has made an effort. Now, On the renewable energy side, one more move has also government has taken is the green hydrogen mission also, which is important. And they have a target of 5 MMT production in the 2030, and the government has allocated good amount for this particular mission also, because this is going to be important for the projects which are related more for a mobility, more for a shipping, waterways. Recently, we have made the announcement for 20 waterways that we are going to prepare, and that's going to improve the logistics. So again, the green hydrogen will support those aspects also into this. And I think more in terms of critical minerals, already I think Dr. Rima has also alluded in the beginning that it is more on the rare earth and the critical minerals corridors that we are actually looking at. And how beautifully the government has chosen those states. If you see, they're talking about a Odisha or a Kerala or Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu, and they are the ones who are very important for us in terms of a lithium, cobalt, and the other renewable energy sources. So I think in this case, again, the custom duties which they have exempted on the capital goods, which are going to be used for processing these critical minerals, will be important, because they are going to reduce the import dependency for us in the coming years. And I think more onto the grid modernization and the transmission side also, a lot of flexibility this government has given in terms of flexible generation capacity that you can look at it, grid modernization that you can look at it, and the infrastructure which is required for a coming years. So I think this is important, because as I said, that when you're looking at a trade and technology embedded advanced manufacturing for your upcoming areas or upcoming sectors, then in this case, the importance of a renewable energy becomes important. And the developed nation, they are also taking the same side of a transformation in their respective countries. If you look at the path of European Union today, they are talking about a carbon border adjustment mechanism, CBAM. We have a lot of issues with that when we were looking at the EU deal with them. And but these countries were prepared almost 20 decades back. Today we are talking about these things today in 2026, but they would have done it long back, I think. So I think in this case, we are not an early mover advantage. We should be taking it, but it's more of a learning by doing from the different areas that the government is looking at from the different aspects. So I think this is important when we are looking at the renewable energy side, and this budget is quite effective in terms of maintaining the momentum of the advanced manufacturing and looking at the green energy transmission side. But as I said, a lot of areas of cons are also there in terms of infrastructure, in terms of mining, in terms of problems associated with those states, how they're going to take it up. Because if you see, still the delays related to a paperwork takes a lot more time in India. I think when I was there for some conversation happening between India EU free trade agreement, I do remember the comments by the EU negotiators during that time is also that we need to look at the paperwork. Even if we have a single window clearance system, very frankly doesn't work sometimes when you look at the different states. So we need to go onto the ground and understand that what challenges are we facing, and need to communicate better to the central government that how the states can take it up.
Yeah, I also would like to add something here. As beautifully government has identified certain places for rare earth material के लिए find out किया, क्योंकि rare earth material के लिए भारत में एक अच्छा स्कोप है और उसके लिए माइनिंग प्रोसेसिंग सब की जाएगी, उसके लिए आइडेंटिफाई किया है कुछ प्लेसेस को। इसी के साथ गवर्नमेंट ने ऐसे भी प्लेसेस आइडेंटिफाई किए हैं लाइक आर टेम्पल टाउन, हमारे जो धार्मिक स्थल है। लाइक गवर्नमेंट इज प्रमोटिंग फ्रॉम लास्ट फ्यू मेनी ईयर्स, राम मंदिर बनाया गया, ये सब चीजें हुई, धार्मिक स्थलों को प्रमोट किया जा रहा है। नाउ गवर्नमेंट इज सेइंग वी विल फोकस टुवर्ड्स दैट ऑल्सो। वहां पर टूरिज्म को इंक्रीज किया जाएगा, वहां पर जो सर्विस सेक्टर है उसको इंक्रीज किया जाएगा बाय प्रमोटिंग मोर, बाय कंस्ट्रक्टिंग मोर एंड मोर होटल्स for making it comfortable for the tourist also, and for increasing that will also increase the jobs.
So certainly this is going to be an opportunity for the youngsters through service-based industries to So can we have a little focus on the artificial intelligence side also? Like AI is shaping the future of industry and also for all the economies in today's time, and that has become the need actually now. So do you think, ma'am, is if this Union Budget 2026 positions India for an AI-driven future? And what impact do you see on productivity, skills, employment, and youth opportunities that this budget has touched upon for our youth?
Sure. I think, as I said earlier, only but that this budget is more of a AI centric. The entire focus of the government itself was on the AI, and that's not only the Indian government is doing, but if you look at the recent different budget allocations by the developed nations, I think the move is towards the artificial intelligence. But it's not about only the artificial intelligence, but also creating the enough infrastructure also required for the AI. Because if you talk about artificial intelligence, you are talking about the cloud bases or the cloud computing or the big computers that are required for the AI to be developed. And it is not that AI is today in one particular sector, but AI is across sectors. So I think the government is very keen to look at AI as one of the tool to look at India's, as I said earlier also, that how this can be used. For example, in agriculture, recently we have also made the announcement in the agri exports where the AI is going to be used. Yeah, so I think it is not only important that AI is going to be utilized for the service sector, but how the AI is going to utilize by MSMEs. This budget does talk about uh, the aspects of the aspirations of the MSMEs, because 50% of our dependency is also on the MSME, which is providing in the manufacturing. So probably the AI is important, but the data hub centers that we are going to come up with, probably the AI is going to support it. Now in terms of the education or the skilling aspects of the AI, the government has made certain provisions on the AI side where they are talking about more of a AI centers or a skill based centers. Some learning courses can also be developed where the students can learn some courses or online materials which can be provided to the students, which is going to reduce the gap between the education and the AI skilling. So here I feel that the amount of expenditure that the government has given for the AI is the overall allocation we are looking at from the AI side, but this is more of a AI augmented roles and the sectors which the government is looking at. It is not going to displace your jobs today, and that's how they wanted to make it ready. Because tomorrow when again it's like a game war, you're looking at yourself and comparing yourself with the world, you realize that okay, US when we are talking about AI, or EU when we talk about, or Australia or New Zealand or Japan we talk about it, they're too high in terms of the development. I'm not including China. Of course China is surpassing the amount of innovations in the AI side, and they have their own development. So I'm not comparing ourselves, and we do not have that competition because we always look at China plus one. So I'm not talking about that, but yes, the preparedness today. Yeah, so I think it is not only important that AI is going to be utilized for the service sector, but how the AI is going to utilize by MSMEs. This budget does talk about uh, the aspects of the aspirations of the MSMEs, because 50% of our dependency is also on the MSME, which is providing in the manufacturing. So probably the AI is important, but the data hub centers that we are going to come up with, probably the AI is going to support it. Now in terms of the education or the skilling aspects of the AI, the government has made certain provisions on the AI side where they are talking about more of a AI centers or a skill based centers. Some learning courses can also be developed where the students can learn some courses or online materials which can be provided to the students, which is going to reduce the gap between the education and the AI skilling. So here I feel that the amount of expenditure that the government has given for the AI is the overall allocation we are looking at from the AI side, but this is more of a AI augmented roles and the sectors which the government is looking at it. It is not going to displace your jobs today. And that's how they wanted to make it ready, because tomorrow when again it's like a game war, you're looking at yourself and comparing yourself with the world. You realize it that okay, US when we are talking about AI, or EU when we talk about, or Australia or New Zealand or Japan we talk about it, they're too high in terms of the development. I'm not including China. Of course, China is surpassing the amount of innovations in the AI side, and they have their own development. So I'm not comparing ourselves, and we do not have that competition because we always look at China plus one. So I'm not talking about that, but yes, the preparedness today for AI, not only in terms of education, but in terms of taking the role of preparing AI models for our own nations, is important. So when you look at in terms of defense side also, or a space side, you wanted to create some self-reliant models of AI, so that the safety and security aspect cannot be compromised in the recent years, right? Because the cyber attack, that how it is taking place, because these are the challenges that we do have. And one more again, we do not have any policies by Indian government on the digital side also. So I think the government needs to prepare more from developing the policy aspects also, clear cut vision that government is looking at it. But here I think the government has done a good job in terms of looking 2047. They are thinking that if they are going to put more focus of a development if within India, probably it will take a good height or a good jump in the coming years when we look at the AI aspects.
Thank you, ma'am, for the insightful, discussion about all the sectors where budget has been allocated. What are the future prospects? So, yeah, now come back to you, ma'am, for the closing comments on this budget.
Yeah. I guess we have touched upon all the points which are being explained by ma'am wonderfully. We all understand the points, but one thing I also want to add here, that government has also focused towards caregiver. What the caregiver is now, what is happening? Like if we talk about certain cities, अगर हम एग्जाम्पल लें चंडीगढ़ का, तो वहां पर क्या है, मोस्ट ऑफ द यंगस्टर जो है शिफ्ट हो जाते हैं कनाडा या अदर सिटीज में भी पढ़ने के बाद में बच्चे आजकल आउट ऑफ इंडिया या कहीं और शिफ्ट हो जाते हैं. दे आर नॉट एबल टू टेक केयर टू देयर पेरेंट्स. दैट हैपेंस. That is not a good thing, but that is the truth of today's time. So what the government is doing, government उस पर भी फोकस किया है इस बजट में कि उस सेक्टर को भी इम्प्रूव किया जाएगा, ऐसी जॉब्स को और ऐसे सेक्टर्स को बढ़ावा दिया जाएगा जहां पर केयर गिवर्स को ज्यादा से ज्यादा इंक्लूड किया जाएगा, और इस तरीके की टेक केयर इंडस्ट्री और इस तरीके का एनवायरनमेंट क्रिएट किया जाएगा जहां पर रिक्वायरमेंट है अगर ओल्ड एज पीपल को, तो दे कैन सीक हेल्प फ्रॉम देम. So that is also a good point.
Yeah, I think Dr. Rima just wanted to highlight, I think that's a brilliant point that you have made it. Just related that all these new sectors is being created to attract the youth in India. It should not be a brain drain. So if you're
Yes.
going to develop certain models within India, probably the upcoming generation which is coming up in the area of AI, or on the mobile phones, or on the technology embedded side, it's actually not a brain drain, but we wanted to retain the brains in India. Because if you see the global CEOs today, the list of Indian CEOs are the highest in that category. So probably the government is quite clear that we wanted to make it possible that if our own brains going to be in India, probably going to contribute a great in defense and space.
True. The resources needs to be here, for all the requirements need to be embedded with the policies and all those things.
Yeah.
So thank you, ma'am, for adding your inputs and the closing comment as well. So participants, if anybody would like to have put in their questions, you may go ahead with the questions. If we have any questions from the participants, you may please put in your questions also. Somebody raising hand also. Parijat ji, so if you would like to have your question? We saw
Yes, ma'am, when we are talking about caretakers concept, that is already started from a long time. But government have the diploma courses for the high school pass students, and as especially for the medical caretakers and other. So that initiative was already stated by in the last year also, and prior to last year. What next? What else they are doing for this year? What they have planned? They are both. That is already the government have programs are there, schemes are there already there, and we can find in the Delhi NCR especially. I can tell you the multiple companies are there who are providing the caretaker, medical, non-medical nursing staff at your home, at your service for 12 hours, 24 hours. Everything is available, and even it's a booming. It is a very booming sector because freshers who 10th pass students are coming at the scale of 24,000 like this. What the today is the 20 IT engineers are not getting. So, so do you think that what all the companies government is doing far better than this? And you also in the different aspect, I say these people are getting much higher pay than the IT engineers. IT engineers are coming very less, and come and on the this on the other point that AI, what I find that it is pushed from the international market, because if you go apart from India, you see the AI has much jumped in all the areas. They are on the multi LLMs, and they are developing different way. In India, mostly you see that people are very happy with that. They are preparing one label agents or multi agents on the small projects, and very few companies are there who are in the AI. So might be that is a push from the international market to survive in the international market, that government has taken this decision, and definitely they are supporting us as a good.
Ma'am, would you like to take this question? Fatima?
So I think for the caregivers, I'm not sure. I think maybe Dr. Rima can add more, but I just wanted to give one context here. When we are looking at the caregivers in the budget, again, it has a lot more connotation with respect to the international market. The importance that, of course, we are doing a bit for many years for the caregivers, but the Ayurveda in India, if you see the taken a jump, or a yoga in India, or nurses from India. In the recent announcements of the FTA that we have done with the European Union or with New Zealand, if you see, we made sure that the mutual recognition agreement needs to be signed in terms of recognizing their degrees when they are going to their markets. So I think it's going to be a good jump, because so far, if you see, there still our caregivers are restricted to only the Middle East countries more. They are going there and they are getting payments, but a lot of immigration or a lot of movement of natural persons in the mode 4 for our services were very restricted for the external sector, for our professionals especially. So it's not only the caregivers, but our singers, our CA or our lawyers were not allowed to go into the European Union and take the cases and do it. But now in this case, the government made it a deal in terms of that the strong STEM, or you can say that the qualified people only will get an employment for a certain years in European Union. So I think here there is a chance for your export services through the caregivers. So when you look at the medical tourism, this budget has actually alluded a lot more on the medical tourism also, where they wanted to attract a lot of people to come to India. So in that case, your caregivers are not allowed to go, or not forced to go in that case, but they're going to deliver those services within India. So these are the certain ways that the government is promoting the in-house services within India, so that not more opportunities can be taken care. Because see what happens, I understand that your caregivers are going out. In that case, you're losing out, because it comes only through the remittances. We are only getting remittances, but any patient who's going to come in India will come and take a lot of services in India, which probably will give lot of boost to the economy as compared to the people who are only going to give the remittances. So I think maybe in terms of numbers, or maybe in terms of understanding of the caregivers, I think the new sectors which are cultural, traditional sectors of India being promoted also in this budget. When you look at Ayurveda, or you look at yoga, or you look at any different new courses which are coming up also. So I think that's from my side.
So basically, it is about the managers. They have given a term. The designation would be care managers, I guess.
Yeah.
Right? So, is there any other question from the participants? Anybody else would like to have? I guess there are no more questions from the participants. So that's all we have for today's session. We are delighted that the session was actually, it has given us more than what we were expecting. So, ma'am, we are all thankful to you, and a big thanks particularly because you have managed your time as well. On behalf of JIIT CDOE and all the members here, I give you heartfelt thanks, and all the participants joining with the insights that you have given on union budget, not only on the sectorial impact, rather you have explained all of us in detail about what it means to us, not just touched upon the points like what has been introduced in the budget, rather you have very well explained about what its implications would be, how it needs to be embedded with the requirements of in education as well. So even with the transformation that is taking place and the requirements that are there for becoming India to be, in the highest list of the developing economies. So we need to have changes in policies in terms of adding educational policies in such a manner that it should be embedded with the requirement of the global standards and policies. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you
all
so much.
participants.
Yeah, I would like to say thank you to all the audience. I think they were very nice, though they did not ask much questions. But yeah, I'm always available if anybody has any query. Of course, happy to hear. And thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Reema, ma'am, for
Thanks
your
a lot.
time and valuable insights as well.